in North County 3 crisis stabilization units. If you're not familiar with a crisis stabilization unit, it's a place where law enforcement primarily would take people that are having mental health crises on the street, and they would take them to get to a crisis stabilization site to be calmed, to be medicated, to get clothing, to get them settled down, and hopefully get them into housing or shelter or something like that afterwards. They can be held up to about 72 hours. So there was one at Tri-City Hospital, and it got shut. It was shut down. So I opened up. There's one in Vista, a crisis stabilization unit, and it's on West Vista Way between the Ford dealership and Denny's. There was already a mental health service there, and it's the same group that runs the crisis stabilization units. So there's 3 in North County. There's one in Vista, one in Oceanside, and one in Escondido at Palomar Hospital. So the reason I'm telling you all this is because I want people to get treatment and into healing. I don't want encampments. I don't want shelters. I don't want parking lots. That's really the push that I'm going for. And there's a strong need for treatment and sober living facilities in North County. And Green Oaks Ranch is like a unicorn. It's a unique opportunity to expand the network of across the county of sober living and health services. And it needs absolutely to be, because I'm not going to put this thing forward unless it's a neighborhood-friendly facility. So that means security. That means, so the owner of the property of Green Oaks Ranch, R.D. Young, he recently passed away. And so right now what's operating on there is a rehabilitation facility for people that are using drugs. And Green Oaks Ministry manages that. There's about 50 people, mostly men, on Green Oaks Ranch right now. But last year, I was approached by a trustee of the property asking if the county would be interested in purchasing the land and having a sober living treatment facility on Green Oaks Ranch to complement what's already there. The situation is, and I have never seen any property that wants to be a rehabilitation center or a site. That's a unicorn. I have not seen that anywhere in San Diego County. So when you say, why Vista, why Green Oak, the owners wanted to keep it that way as a rehab site. So I have a hunch, whether it's a county or not, there's going to be some sort of rehab facility on that site. Excuse me. Yeah, just heard from something. It always has been, and it's been for about 50 years on that site in some different shapes or forms. So last year we began the process. I had asked county staff, hey, can you go out and look at it? Can you go see what the potential is, what the possibilities are? So they made a few site visits, and they did an appraisal of the property. That's where the $12 million comes from. And then on April 30th of this year, I put forward a notice to the Board of Supervisors in an open notice public meeting to begin negotiations with the owners, to see if this is a possibility for us there. And we are at this is really kind of early to be even discussing this. We're at a very, very early preliminary stage. So I'm not going to be able to answer all hypothetical questions, but I'll do the best I can. But right now, we may not even get the property. And I get the vibe in this room, you don't want us to get it. But, okay, amen, all right. And it's going to take, if they were to say tomorrow, okay, county, go. It's going to take at least a year or more for the county to do due diligence on the property and do a deep dive to see what all the requirements are, to see what the drawbacks are, to see what the potential is on that site. And it needs a lot of infrastructure and a lot of upgrading, and it'd be nice if they got permits too. But anyway, and I've heard from people that the county swooped in and usurped solutions for change. We were invited to the table about a year ago. We didn't swoop in and try to get solutions for change out of there. I was not aware where Solutions for Change was in the process. They're a private entity. They're not a public entity. So I didn't have that information, how far along they were. I did hear just prior to us going forward that there was a letter of intent, but there wasn't any anything in stone or out there yet. So there's no intention of trying to usurp Solutions for Change. If Solutions for Change gets it, great. I think they're a good organization. I've given over a couple $100,000 in grants to Solutions for Change. I think they're a good model. And so if they don't get it, or maybe we could work together on it, something like that. That would be a possibility. But we didn't go in and try to get, if Solutions for Change gets it, hallelujah. So if the county does prevail, though, what I want to be able to do is work with Solutions for Change and possibly Green Oak Ministries that is already there. I want us all to be successful and to protect the neighborhoods. So the current operator, Green Oaks Ranch, I think they have done a fantastic job and have set the bar. Because they have been, I would guess, mostly innocuous. They do their business, you do yours. There's not a lot of any problems or anything. I haven't heard any complaints from Green Oak Ranch at all. I would want to keep them on the property and have them operating. And actually, they are going to be occupying, I'll show you a little bit later, a slide where it shows where they are still going to be operating on the property. Perhaps, if the county were to get it, maybe we could be a funnel of people into their ministry, if that's the best path for people to get healed. Perhaps they could, because I have heard, well, you're going to take all the money and revenue from Green Oaks Ministry if you go in there, because they get it from the veterans and they get it from other Boy Scouts and other associations. And I'm not sure. I would love to, keep some of those going as best we can. I don't know if I could promise all of them. Particularly the veterans. I think that is a weekend entity. But perhaps Green Oaks Ministry could take care of the grounds. They could manage the cafeteria. There's a large cafeteria on that site. And we could pay them for that and make sure they're solvent. But I want to make, there's solutions. They could actually, like I mentioned earlier, manage the sober living portion of this site. So I really want to set the blueprint. I want to do exactly the way Green Oaks Ministries has done it. I want to be, if we come in there and it's the county doing this. Has everybody been on the site? Has anybody not been on the site? Not. Can we run that video? We got like a 3-minute video. This is a video that actually was done by Green Oaks Ranch. Green Oak, sorry. And off to the right is this area B where the Green Oak Ministries would still be there and operating. And this is the area where Green Oak Ministries is already, that's where they have their housing for the 50 individuals they're serving. This is a cafeteria. This would be part of the land purchased by the county. It's huge. It has its permits. It's up to date. One of the big issues is this is in a floodplain. There's some RVs there where people are living in just next to that. This is an amphitheater. These are the cabins where the veterans stay when they have the veteran stand downs, and I guess campers stay as Boy Scouts as well. There's the animals, there's goats, there's peacocks, there's pigs, there's all sorts of stuff on that. Turtles. Yeah, big rabbits, all sorts of stuff there. I think it's about 186 in that ballpark of land for the entirety of Green Oak Ranch. And the parcel, can you bring up that parcel map? Okay, the parcels here, that parcel B is where Green Oak Ministries would continue to operate. And potentially, because I did ask, I heard some comments about the mobile homes or the motor homes that are there. I asked the Green Oak Ministry, and they said they planned on potentially moving them up into Area B, where they would keep operating. So let's see. So the areas of A, C, and D are up for purchase from the Green Oak from the trustees. So A and D, if the county were to purchase, it would remain open space. We would not, we would preserve it as open space. Matter of fact, we could put some of the trails in there are not very well maintained right now. The county would maintain them and open it up for public use and would be maintained by county parks. Area C is primarily the area where if the county were to purchase it, to have facilities on Area C. And what we anticipate at build-out, and I got this from our county health department, at build-out, and this is going to be a phased long-term project if it goes forward, would be about 200 beds on the site. I've heard thousands. It's 200 at most would be on this site. And on that sheet that we passed out, hopefully you got one, in the front page, it says how many beds in each of the types of facilities. So I want to talk about the programs that the county would be offered, or this is what our department, the head of behavioral health, told me. Here's what we need. Here's what we would probably put on this property. But I want to tell you what I envision for the property, and this is what I put forward at our Board of Supervisors hearing. That it is a sober living site, no drug use, drug testing be on site, and 24/7 staff services. 24/7 security of the buildings and the grounds. If you notice, if you've been on county properties at all, we do not have homeless encampments on county property, county-owned properties. We do not allow that. We have people in patrols that patrol the grounds and make sure we don't have homeless encampments, and we don't have, and we have security in the buildings and outside. So this is longer-term care, no walk-ins, only referrals could come in here. Transportation would be required for people coming or going off-site. All residents have to be in programs, and this is treatment. This is not public housing. This is a treatment facility. And so there's two types of treatment that I want to get into here. One is the first treatment being a sober living pipeline, which I mentioned earlier. This, like I said, will be built over time. The Sober Living Pipeline has 3 programs. The first program is I'll give you the technical terms, withdrawal management, substance use treatment, and recovery residential. So, all right, what that really means. Withdrawal management detox. So these would be, people would come in either voluntarily or court-ordered or recommended by the county who meet the criteria to come in for detox. Detox is about 7 days. So we'd have about, I think it says about 15 beds for detox. And this would be in a secure facility. This is basically hospital beds where people are hooked up to IVs. There's a big risk of people dying and not coming out, or coming out of detox. So it's a very intensive, people are not gonna be coming and going from detox at all. Then the next center would be 30 days of recovery from detox. So after you get detox, you get cleaned up, you have 30 days of recovery. Again, in a secure building that this is for you to hopefully, get through the treatment and make sure that you're clean and sober for 30 days. That's, I forget how many beds, 45 beds, it's on the sheet there. And then after that would be a sober living facility. And that could be operated Solutions for Change, Green Oaks Ministry, but a sober living facility where we would have people there spending 3 to 6 months out of the sober living facilities. Now, those people in the sober living facilities could be able to come and to go, but they're only going to be allowed to go if they're escorted or driven by county staff. So we're not going to let people just wander into the neighborhoods. We're not going to let people walk in or walk out. It would be very controlled. And that's about it. And some of these people, they're going to be leaving the site for job interviews, possibly. And one of the things I've envisioned as well is perhaps we can get Maricosta College and Palomar College to help get job training on site, have people take care of the grounds, have people take care of the animals. But those would be, so the sober living would be the next phase. So you got detox, you got recovery from detox, and then the sober living. And the sober living is 3 to 6 months, and then we're hoping to put everybody out then into housing. So it's gonna be a churn. It's not just gonna be 200 people there permanently, but a churn of people to where we put them out in housing, we put them, their families might take them back. We try to get them into shelter or some sort of a care after the sober living. And I think what's unique about Green Oaks Ranch, I'm sorry, I keep saying Oaks. My staff member back here always gets after me for that too, is basically the size. And we can have detox, and we've got detox centers. It's not just gonna be here in Vista. We've got several detox centers throughout the county. I think we have about 82 beds for detox. We were proposing 15 here, 82 in total throughout the county. We also have recovery residential after detox facilities throughout the county. And so this would be part of a network. But what's unique about Green Oak Ranch is all 3 of these facilities can be on the same site because of the volume, because of the room. And it actually makes it better for healing if people don't have to be shifted from one part of the county to another part of the county to get the care and treatment. So the output of this detox treatment is clean and sober people. That's what I'm trying to do, in a secure spot where they're not able to leave. Now, some people and I'll be honest with you, some people can enter these programs voluntarily. We've already got people volunteering for that. They can leave. But what I would want to do, if and when this ever comes forward to the Board of Supervisors and goes forward, is that anybody who enters this program has to sign a contract. And the contract is you cannot just walk out. You're free to leave, but you are going to be escorted. You are going to be driven. You're going to be taken to your family. You're going to be taken to some other facility. Or you're going to be taken, if you're homeless, we're going to take you back to where you came from. And this was an issue that came up with the crisis stabilization units as well. And your mayor brought this forward. It's okay, we just want to make sure they're not dumped off in Vista after going through the crisis stabilization unit. So if someone doesn't have another place to go or a shelter or some sort of a treatment center to go, our head of behavioral health says the best place for them to go is back where they came from. So if they came from San Diego or Carlsbad or San Marcos, or even if they came from Vista, they go back to where their environment, where their social network is, and they can they have a better chance of success going back there. So we're not gonna be, the only people we dump in Vista, or not dump, put in Vista with the people that came from Vista. This is not for to use as a dumping ground. And your mayor has actually come after me several times, and we finally did it about a month or two ago. For people getting out of jails. Now we're going to try to get a transportation service to take people out of jail, because the sheriffs, I was trying to get the sheriffs to do something about it for years, but as soon as that person's free to go, they're free to go, and they can't do anything. So what we're trying to do is get potentially mentors, people who've been in jail or been in gangs and things like that, to take people and take them back to where they came from, and not just leave them here in the streets of Vista. So I know that's a big potential. So let's see, I'm getting ahead of myself. But, okay, if a person wants to leave, that's there voluntarily, they can leave, but there's gonna be before you can even get in, you have to agree that you are gonna be escorted and driven to a facility or back to where you came from. I guess drugs and alcohol don't care if you're rich or poor, what color you are, where you come from. And to enter this site, you're going to have to be, mentioned earlier, by a doctor, county staff, or court-ordered to go through the program. And they're not going to just take anybody. We're not going to take violent criminals. We're not going to take somebody who's just not going to have a prospect of success. The other part of the program is so that's the sober living pipeline. To get people sober, get them jobs, get them back in the community, have them, their families, take them back. And this is not just for homeless people. This is for people, I remember when I was mayor of San Marcos, I had a complaint from a couple they had a son who was schizophrenic. He wasn't violent, but they couldn't manage or handle him. And we have no places for something like that. So this board and care program is basically a treatment facility for adults with mental illness with the inability to live on their own. Some of them might be severely mentally ill. Not violent, but severe. But this is a facility where they are not going to be able to leave. This is a facility where serious mentally ill people, and by serious mentally ill, they could be bipolar, depression, PTSD, OCD, what is that? Obsessive compulsive disorder, and or in co-occurring with dementia or Alzheimer's. So these are people who don't really qualify for a nursing home, but they need to be housed somewhere. And this would be a facility that would not allow, these people would not be able to leave. They're not leaving. They could have family come and visit them. And if they leave or they have to go to a doctor visit or something like that or treatment offsite, they're gonna be escorted and driven there. So a board and care facility for people, and I'll tell you, I know, see, I'm going off script a little bit here. Okay, Carlsbad, Windsor Point, terrible. Absolutely terrible. We do not want to do that. And basically, Windsor Point took, at the last minute, it was sold to the citizens of Carlsbad as a veterans facility, only for homeless veterans. And at the last minute, the developer and the accountant and the city agreed. They took housing first dollars. So people there do not have to be in treatment, and they can refuse treatment. And there are some severely mentally ill people in that facility right now that are not getting the treatment they need. And so what I'm proposing is not housing, it's a treatment facility. It's not long-term, except for maybe some of the people that are that have dementia or they have serious mental illnesses. These are not people in straitjackets that are screaming their heads. These are people that, they'll be medicated, they'll be calmed. It's gonna be a place for them to go before they go or have any opportunity at a other facility. So the site I'm proposing is not going to be a walk-in, walk-out facility. It's going to be, we're going to have people just like now Green Oak Ranch has, somebody at the gate. We're going to have somebody on the grounds. We're going to have people patrolling the grounds, patrolling the building. And I know nobody wants this. Nobody wants this. But it's a unique opportunity for a site that wants to be a rehabilitation site. So if you got to talk to the owners or the trustees. They're the ones going to be making that decision. And they've done a good job for many decades. And it's going to be somebody else coming in and increasing the numbers. I think the only reason I think the county has an opportunity and a chance is we have the resources to make sure it's safe. Which is your tax dollars. I've also heard from, how about making it a park and recreation fields? Vista needs that. We don't need more mental health services here. So, that's a potential. We could possibly work with the city. I have no idea. There's, of this area C, I think there's 47 acres. We might need 10. So there's other possibilities that if, and I know it might be a little dicey, but it could be worked out potentially to have fields there as well as a facility that's a locked or a secure facility. And right now, nothing is set in stone, except for this is the potential, this is the services that would be offered. And there is an opportunity, I think, for the city, Solutions for Change, Green Oak Ministries, and the county to work together on this. There's a lot of infrastructure costs that are going to have to go into it. And I don't know if the city or Solutions has those dollars. So I want to make it safe. I want this thing to be successful. I don't want to hear from people every day that somebody's out wandering in the streets. I absolutely do not want that to happen. If I'm trying to treat this, if this were in my backyard, and I knew it was coming, how would I want it to be run? How would I want it to be? No, I get it. You don't want it there at all. But if it's going to be, what kind of safeguards should be in place? So that's what the county would be proposing, and I want Green Oak's legacy to continue. So I want to hear your inputs. I've talked to, I think, your master board, and I talked to a couple of, I think, Cove. I've talked to a group up on Lupine. And every time I learn something new, it's like, okay, how can we maybe mitigate or fix this problem? And I know the answer is to just make it go away. But unfortunately, we have a lot of mental health issues in the county. As a society, I think it's terrible that we let people stay on the streets. And luckily, the Supreme Court just had a ruling to where we can move people, but we got to have places to get them healed, to get them clean and sober again. And I know that's the county's job. We got to do it somewhere. Oh, okay, move it to Campo. I've had that one. Move it someplace else. And actually, I was looking into that when this whole fiasco of homelessness started up. I said, okay, how about I'm willing to, in Valley Center's in my district, I'm willing to maybe find a place in Valley Center where we can take homeless people and have a site out there. Or I've been heard, who's Campo? Who's the Campo lady? You're the Campo lady. Okay. In order for, and this is coming from, I'm not a doctor or a lawyer, from the, here. Maybe at the end you can all put me in one of these facilities. But anyway, in order for people to be successful after they get clean and sober, they got to have resources. They got to have places to go get a job. They got to have places where they can get training or they can get other treatment. In the middle of nowhere is not the place for that, for the most success to come out. And this is coming from our head of mental health, and that out in the boonies is not always the best place to have that happen. So, have you heard enough of me? Okay. Okay, so we got a couple people running around with microphones so that we can hear the questions. I don't know, Dan, do you want to take it back over here a second?
Sure, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. So we are going to be passing around a microphone in a second, but I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts and visions because I have talked with a lot of you as well. So I appreciate Supervisor Desmond because I do not think he's being disingenuous with his vision. My concern is that the County Board of Supervisors has 4 other votes on it, in which Jim sits in the minority. And so they can go in carte blanche and basically do whatever they want, and we lose all control over the land. And that's going to happen with any board that you go to. It can happen here on the City Council, it can happen at the County Supervisor, it can happen at anywhere if there's a minority versus a majority on the county or on the board. I share the same concerns you have over the safety, but my larger concern is a promise I made to all of you when I ran. And that is, we promised that we would create more green space and more parks and more fields and more trails in Vista. And Supervisor's right, this is a unicorn. It is 120 acres in our city that will literally never come up again, not in our lifetime, not in the next lifetime. And I want to see that space activated in a lot of different ways. And that could be ball fields, that could be more parks, that can be improving the trails, that can be job training facilities, that could be fire training facilities. There is a litany of things. There is a litany of things that can go in there, but understand that it comes at a cost. And so to be completely transparent with everybody in this room, should the city be able to acquire it? And we don't know. The supervisor is very correct. It is not up to us. It's going to be up to Green Oak. It's going to be up to what happens if and when we should make an offer to them. But I will tell you this, it could take years, if not decades, to program it to the full extent that it can be programmed. But should we be able to acquire it, we do keep control. And that means all of your voices continue to be heard, all of your voices and input will go into activating that space. And so that's where my big differential comes from. This is not an anti-county. Listen, I don't share this information very often, and I hope I don't regret sharing it, but I have a brother that I lost to an accidental overdose. There is nothing and there is no one that will care more about the people you see on the streets because I've experienced it. I don't want anybody to wake up at 2:30 in the morning and have to drive their parent to the hospital to identify a body. I don't ever want a family to have somebody living on the street that are addicted to drugs or alcohol or anything else that keeps them from being home and being safe. So I'm not against these facilities. I'm against them in this place. And it's not because it's the county. It is not because it's the county. It is because I believe in the greater vision of what it can be for Vista for centuries to come. And so that's where I stand on it, and I just want to be very transparent with everybody in this room. That's what I'm going to fight for. I don't know if I have council majority support on this, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to fight like hell to make sure it happens. So I do want to make sure I do want to make sure that we do remain respectful. I know we all have comments and questions that we have for the supervisor and the county. I'm sure you have questions for me as well. So we do have a microphone going around, and I hope we can answer all the questions today.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming out. I live in this community as well. The big problem I have with this, well, there's many, but I just think about the impact on the fire departments in the area. And the sirens, I mean, facilities half this size are getting 200 plus calls a year. I mean, you're talking about a siren, 2 sirens going by all times of day and night, going to take care of these facilities. It just completely transforms everything, not to mention the weight that comes down on the fire departments and all that stuff. I mean, it's just asinine to even think that we're going to put something like this here. I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's just bad. Anyways, Dan, you know I support you on this. I really hope we can get something put through the city council to purchase this land for the parks that we really need. So.
Hey, okay, I don't have my microphone here. Hey, thanks for that question. I think what's unique about, and I hear you, but what's unique about this is if somebody breaks a leg or something like that, or it gets injured, you would have fire response, but you're already gonna have the clinical people and the doctors on site at a treatment facility that you wouldn't have at another facility. So if somebody's injured, absolutely, but what's unique about this is the medical personnel are there.
Hey, how's it going? Good. My name's Tim Tronconi, and I'm actually a firefighter paramedic. I work in San Diego, and I live in Shadow Ridge Crossing. You could actually see my house on the map there. Yeah. So I live there with my wife, and I have 3 small children. And I was shocked when I heard about your proposal because I'm an active member of the community, and the first time I heard about it was in the newspaper. So I have about 10 questions to ask you, but my first one is, how come you did not do any community outreach in the closest neighborhoods surrounding Green Oak before your vote on April 30th?
I went to your master board, and I think one other community that invited me, because I told all of the people at the master board, I'm happy and I'm willing to come and talk and discuss. So I did do that. I made the effort. I didn't hit as many as I probably would have liked, but I made that effort.
Perfect. So they're saying I can only do 1 question. Would you guys all mind? I have something prepared. Would you guys mind if I ask my questions? Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So I think everyone in this room agrees that we want to help people in the city of Vista. That's why I personally became a firefighter. I wanted to help people. But as a firefighter, I've also seen how devastating county-run facilities are for the surrounding communities, schools, and local businesses. County facilities are poorly operated and provide low level of care for their patients. The staff and doctors at these facilities are overwhelmed, overworked, and some of the lowest paid in San Diego. One of the county mental health facilities in San Diego called 911 for fire and EMS 198 times in a 1-year period. So I have a question for you. What specific, I'm gonna continue. Vista already hosts the county jail for San Diego, which puts a huge strain on our sheriffs, and our fire EMS resources will consistently be unavailable due to being on calls at the proposed facility, putting our public safety at risk and wasting our taxpayers' money providing services for the county. Yes, right here. Will you provide reimbursement for the ambulances and fire expenses that will arise from calls at this facility?
Yes. And with the sheriffs, I talked to Kelly Martinez, the sheriff of the deputy sheriffs, and she said she would be able to provide 3 sheriffs, if necessary, 24-hour, those 3 shifts, 3 8-hour shifts on site.
Okay, so you're adding more sheriffs because there's a potential of a threat. Is that correct?
Yeah. And so we want to mitigate that.
Yeah, okay. So I could tell you right now that I'm a firefighter, and I go to these facilities, these county-run facilities, with doctors, with staff, just like you described, on a daily basis.
Are they
Jim.
treatment centers?
Yes, they're county mental health treatment centers. We go to these facilities often, getting a turnover from a doctor to transport them to another facility. 198 times at one facility. So you could sit there and promise that to us, but it's not the reality. My next question is, will you allow sex offenders in this facility?
Okay, in Vista, I looked this up, sorry. Somebody gave me a heads up.
Okay, I'm glad you're.
There's about 1,000 sex offenders in the city of Vista. There's a handful within about a mile or two of Green Oak Ranch. Look it up, I don't know, I Googled it. There's more, okay. So we've already got them. So I'll ask you this, we're not gonna take violent people into this, but I'll answer your question with a question.
Yeah.
Would you rather have a sex offender that is clean and sober, or do you want one that is strung out on drugs and alcohol?
I don't think that's a fair question to ask because, and I personally would like to know where they live, their address, their picture, and their image right there. If they come to your facility, so you're telling us that yes, there will be sex offenders at that facility.
Potentially, this is not open for all sex offenders. That's not the target. There may possibly come through if they have a substance use disorder and they can get clean and sober. And something I would be willing to do is if there is one that comes through, we notify you or the public or whatever. But unfortunately, you're not gonna like this. They're already living amongst you, and we want to make sure.
We know where they live, though. We have their addresses. We have their pictures.
Okay, we'll let you know
their
if they're coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The next question is, so will these people be placed on involuntary holds, or are they going to be put on conservatorships?
Well, there's the potential of conservatorship. So basically, there's two different types of people that would be coming voluntarily, and then those on conservatorships. Those on conservatorships are not leaving. They don't have the opportunity to bail. They don't have the opportunity at any point in time to say, I'm out of here and I'm leaving. They have to complete and go through the program, and they cannot, like the voluntary people, just pick up and go. So there's basically two types, voluntary and conservatorships.
Okay, so there will be no involuntary 5150 holds.
I don't know enough to say yes or no on that.
Okay. I'm just curious if you know what it takes to put somebody on a...
This is not a 5150 site. That would be the
Okay.
crisis stabilization unit. These are
Okay.
people that are going to be referred to
Got it, okay.
treatment.
And then, so this brings me to my next section. The fact that we have no land control of the county is awarded the land is my biggest concern. You mentioned Windsor Point. That's a county-run Housing First facility, correct?
It's not housing. It's not county run.
Okay, but it is funded by the county?
Not entirely. Some of the county money, when it became Housing First, which was the first mistake that allowed it to be Housing First, then, and because some of those dollars came from the state, the county has the ability to place people into that environment. And I think it's a wrong thing to do, and it's not something I support.
Okay, well, from my understanding from the news article that I've read and learning about it, is they called 911 700 times over the last 2 years. And it seems like the local residents are going to their city council and pleading with them for more security, more safety, and helping them. And they're saying, we can't do it because the county is not listening to us. So how is this not going to be the same situation if we have an issue with your facility at Green Oak?
Well, first of all, that is a housing facility. That's not a treatment
But
facility.
it's a perfect example of what could take place.
Absolutely, and which is why I'm not. So actually, there are a couple of people, I guess, that when I talked to the city manager and the city, the sheriff, not the sheriff, police department, there was like 2 or 3 people within that facility that were making calls all day long. They are seriously mentally ill. They do not belong there. But because of the programs set forth by the state of California, that these people can be placed there. And if they're not violent, they get put there. And you're absolutely right. They should not be there. And Carlsbad will never vote for another one of these things to be put, and I would recommend them not to. I have a meeting once a month with all the mayors across the border, across the 78 corridor. This is something that's high on the radar, and it's something we absolutely, and so that is a housing, I'm trying to do treatment to get people that are severely mentally ill to live someplace
But
else
it's an
and have
example
that
of how the
opportunities.
citizens are going to the county asking for help,
Well,
and
it's
they're
not,
not
it's not
getting it.
county run.
Okay, well, that's my concern, is us coming, okay, I wanted to keep it local. local control. If we have a concern, if Vista own the land, we could go to our city council members and say, hey, look, this is the issue. If the county owns the land, we come to you, and you go to 4 other people that don't believe the same way you do.
Well, I tell you what, it was voted on this project unanimously by the board, and none of us wants to see anything like this fail. None of us want to see like what happened in Carlsbad. I want a facility, you know, wherever we put this in San Diego County or these sites, it has to work. It has to work for the neighborhoods. It has to work for the community. I'm willing to bend over backwards to do whatever I can to make sure the neighborhoods are safe. And I realize it's scary to have this thrown upon you. But Green Oak Ranch wants to be a rehabilitation site. So when you're saying, you know, it's not just the county, that's what the owners want it to stay and be. So I'm just saying
I understand.
that
I
so
believe that Vista owning the land, and if that's
They have
true,
they
could put a rehabilitation center, and we could come to the city of Vista at a local level and voice our concerns.
True. All right.
Can I ask one more question? This is my last question.
One more.
Is that I have a neighbor in the community who is trying to sell their home right now, and they messaged me and said, I can't sell my house because the county's proposal. Everyone has backed out. There's 10 people that have backed out because the county's proposal. My home value is decreasing. What do you say to the residents whose houses are possibly depreciating?
We're going to try to do stay with the same example that's been set by Green Oak Ranch and be innocuous to the community as best we can. You're going to get something.
And Tim, real quick, thank you for the question. Mayor Franklin's here as well. We're going to give him an opportunity to speak.
Go ahead, but I'm going to come in over there.
Okay, you want to go over there now, or you want me?
Go ahead.
Okay. Councilmember, thanks for putting this together. I think most of you know me. I'm Mayor John Franklin. Dan put this together, so I'm a member of the audience like you. My house is at the top of this map, so I live very close to it, and I'm concerned about it. Look, I want to say Supervisor Desmond's been doing a great job. You and I are aligned in about 99% of the things that you've done, and I have been a huge fan of yours, and I appreciate the good work you've done. You came to me and you said, the county wants to build crisis stabilization unit. Our sheriff's deputies were driving people. No, I didn't want it at first, but I broke with my 2 Republican colleagues, and I gave you the 3rd vote for it because you and I spent a year in negotiation, and we said we're not going to drop people off that are not accepted for treatment. We're not going to abandon them on the streets of Vista. You gave us more policing at the county's expense. And the most important thing was, and you've kept your promise on this, is that you said, John, this is going to be the first of 8 around the county. And so people are not going to be dropped off from Escondido or Oceanside in Vista. And true to your word, there's now a CSU in Oceanside. There's one in Escondido. And this is what I believe, and there's 3 more at least in the works. Our deputies were driving an hour south to the county psych hospital, and it was taking them out of, off the patrol beat nearly all day. So it was a huge benefit to have that facility. And it did ruffle a few feathers, but you know what? We haven't had a single complaint. John, where are you? Where's John? John, has anybody complained about that facility? I haven't gotten one complaint. So we've managed to do that the right way. We did it in cooperation. And so, look, I just want to say Supervisor Desmond's been very forward-thinking about the fact that we do need these mental health facilities. Now, all of that said, when you first asked me this, if I supported it, I told you I don't know enough about the proposal, how many people would live there, what kind of product it would be, to be for it or against it. I want to be thoughtful. You are a very thoughtful guy. Honestly, you are. No, you are. I get it. I get it. Look, there's a bigger community concern here, which is we've got 270 homeless people on our streets. And my point of view is that Vista and every other city in the county should do our fractional share. But what we do not want to do is we do not want to build services that are larger than the service need we have in our own population. What that will do is that will disincentivize our neighboring cities to build services for their residents, and they will make us the dumping ground, as has been said. That's not what we should do. my sole concern, my overriding concern is what Tim has touched on, which is the idea that, I don't know we got about 200 people here maybe. If 200 of you come to the council chambers, there's about a 98% chance that the council's gonna go with it, whatever you came to tell us. Because we're here and, that's how local government works, and we're about a 7 or 8 minute drive from your house. My concern is, in 2 years from now, you're termed out of the board. We've got some people on the Board of Supervisors who are whack jobs, okay? They are woke, they are nuts, and they don't share your philosophy, they don't share my philosophy, and they have advocated for all kinds of things. And, the county is projected in its budget to be in budget deficit next year. Okay, that's what I read in the budget document. I'll have to do my homework on that, but that's what I read. My concern is that the county doesn't have the resources to fund this without taking money from the state or the feds. Well, I don't know where the money's going to come from. If it comes through, and I'd like to hear it. It is, and I'll suspend. Look, I'm trying to take a balanced approach here. I'm not trying to whack you with a 2x4. No, I know, but I'm taking a little bit of liberty here since I'm the mayor. What I want to say is that state law says that if $1 of state money is used, it has to be for housing first. Federal law says the same. Okay. The last concern I have is, and it's what we've said here, is everybody that lives here going to be restrained? I went to the Lakeside Special Treatment Facility in Lakeside. It's in partnership with the county. It's run by a private operator, and they called it egress controlled, which is a nice way of saying absolutely no one is allowed to leave. So the real question is, how many of these individuals, if they decided to self-exit treatment, how many of them would be able to leave? There's a lot of different categories and service types. The last thing I want to say is that Lakeside Special Treatment Facility looks very much on the outside like a nursing home. Actually, a lot of good paying jobs in there, and all the people are getting off the street, getting treatment, and they can't walk away from it. There is no leaving. It is basically an incarcerated facility, and that's through the county's conservatorship. Those kind of programs, I think, for the people who are the most severely mentally ill are what we need, and I've told you, I support that. I want to work with you to make that happen because we need those facilities to get a small percentage of folks off the street. When we don't have that service, the people are 94% saying no when we ask them, would you please come with us to the shelter? Let us get you off the street. They say no because there's nowhere to take them involuntarily. We need that product. I want to partner with you. The city wants to partner with you. I don't think that Green Oak is the right place. When I see other nursing facilities, they're on commercial corridors, they're in industrial parks. I think that this piece of land is totally unique because it's the largest remaining piece of land in the incorporated cities. I mean, in all of North County, it's a very unique parcel. But like Dan said, this is a multi-generational opportunity. I don't know if the family will sell it to the city, but my number one concern is preservation of the land, the use for the community. And the last thing I have to say is just to repeat the fact that I want the citizens of Vista to be able to come to their council chamber, show up in numbers, tell us what they want in their city, and I want that to be and if the county owns it, we lose that land use control. The citizens of Vista will have to go downtown to appear before a board of supervisors, which at that time, probably Supervisor Desmond will no longer be serving on. And so, right, so that's my concern is that, even if, say, somebody friendly was serving on it, if they're outnumbered, it could be, Tara Lawson-Remer, who could be making the decisions, and that is an outcome that I couldn't countenance. So that's the end of my questions and remarks. Thanks for the liberty.
Just real quick, it's not even a caveat. I'm not targeting Vista. This is a 100+ acre facility that wants to be and stay a rehabilitation facility. This is nowhere else in the county is there this opportunity for a rehabilitation facility that wants to be. That's the only reason that I'm pursuing this property. I do not want to be dumping on Vista. That's absolutely not true. It's only because this opportunity has arisen And we're looking at it, and I'm here making proposals even before we even buy the thing. So hope this is the way good government should work anyway. But anyway, okay.
Over here, Supervisor.
Okay, over there.
First,
I don't think we have charge.
Hold that thing. Well, hi.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me know if you can hear me.
Check.
My name is Ted Cole. I've been a resident here in the city of Vista.
This money primarily, this is going to take probably decades to build it out. Initially, the dollars, because this is an important issue, I would put forward that we take it out of county reserves. Right now, we have got, and you're not going to like this, we've got about $800 million in county reserves. That's 2 months of operating dollars. And we have been, even during COVID, we only used about a third of those dollars. So this is an important issue for San Diego County. Mental health is going off the charts. We don't have the facilities. We don't have if we are able to, with the Supreme Court hearing ruling and with this new Senate Bill SB 43 coming along the pike where we're going to be able to put people into treatment in conservatorships. So we have that opportunity. We don't have the facilities. So I forgot, what was the question? Did I answer it? Oh, where's the money? Reserves.
Well, I believe
Those are housing projects, not treatment projects. Treatment and housing are two different things. And what's messing it up as far as is the housing that allows people to go in and not be clean and sober and may continue to use drugs. This site will not allow that at all. Okay.
I beg to differ an opinion on that.
I have a question for Dan. You know, the trustees I hope they're going to honor the deceased wishes, and it will be a transformational, life-changing place. I don't know what literally the will said, but if you put parks in, I don't see how that's going to meet it. So Dan, I'd like to hear about that. And then I have a question for Jim.
Yeah, that's a great question. First, I don't want to speculate on what the will says because I haven't seen it either, but I do know and understand that they want to try and keep and maintain some aspect of whoever purchases the land, that they're going to have some type of either rehabilitation or just healing there. So that can come in many forms though. So yes, parks can be a part of that, but when we talk about training facilities or we talk about other things, and without knowing exactly what their vision is for it, I can't speak to that. But is there a potential like we might have to have some type of affordable housing in there? And affordable housing doesn't mean low-income housing. It is based on the AMI of the area. But whether it's affordable housing, whether it's training facilities to make sure that people have the opportunity, whether it's working with them to make sure that they can either work the land if they'd like to, or that there's access to the spaces that are there, I'm open to all of those ideas. And until we actually sit down with them to discuss those, I can't tell you exactly what that would be. But I will say this, for 74 years, and I would venture to bet most people in this room didn't even know Green Oak existed prior to the county trying to purchase it. And for 74 years, they have operated a fantastic facility of sober housing and sober living. And I don't want to stop them from doing that. I don't want to see the trailer parks go away. I don't want to thwart them in any efforts they have to continue running. In fact, they want to expand, and I will fully support that.
Totally agree. I just think all of us need to remember that this is the deceased wishes. It will be a transformation, assuming the trustees honor the deceased wishes. So it's not a matter of no the county, no the city, no we hate all this. It's what is the solution? I'd like to hear from more people. And Jim, you're going to leave office. And so my concern is, and of course, John, we heard your campaign speech just now, but you know, what guarantee do we have that all of your very carefully thought out curbs are going to stay in place after you leave office?
Well, we'll try to put in as many safeguards as we possibly can. And one of the things I'm very much open to is deed restrictions. If the trustees want to put in a deed restriction that this has to be it can never be a shelter, fine. Or if it has to revert, you know, maybe the first right of refusal, if it's ever sold, has to go to the city. Or other things that we could put in the deed that would restrict people from dramatically changing it. But even though, and I know the mayor had mentioned this, my colleagues, we primarily are on the same page when it comes to getting treatment and treatment facilities. Like I said, I want this to be a success story. I want this to be the model of what gets done elsewhere because it's neighborhood friendly, because it gets, you know, we're able to get people clean and sober and off the streets. And it's not just for people that are homeless. This is also for family members. If you know, we don't have these types of facilities. The state used to, they closed them down. That's why they're putting all their sexually violent predators in our neighborhoods. So we have to come up with these types of solutions locally, which is unfortunate. But I am open to putting restrictions or guidelines that we can in place while I'm still in office, if we can deed restrictions and things like that to make sure it doesn't revert to a shelter or just something worse than anybody would want. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Stewart. I've been a Vista resident since I was 3. I won't tell you how old I am, though. So, Supervisor, you've mentioned time and time again, and you brought this up as well, that the deceased wishes were that this was going to be a rehabilitation facility. Well, according to your plan, 15 beds are going to be for detox, 45 would be for the treatment, but then the rest of it doesn't sound like rehab, it sounds like living. It sounds like sober living and long-term assisted living, and the bulk of this breakdown is in the long-term assisted living, where there will be severe mental illness being treated.
Yes.
How is the county going to control the majority of mental illness when this was supposed to be a rehab facility?
By having security on site, on the grounds, in the buildings. And I'll tell you what, when I toured Green Oak Ranch, on the tour from Hannah, the gal that runs the operation there, we came across a woman who was working in the garden, and she's been there for 50 years. She's never left. And I have a hunch most of this is the kind of population that we're going to that just are not going to make it out in the real life. This is not violent people. These are people that just are never going to be able to leave. And that's primarily what we'll be housing there. And they can never leave. They cannot leave the property. They are not going to be allowed. So by having sheriffs, by having security in the buildings and having security on the grounds, having security at the gate, having people walking around, and if there's another, level or whatever, I'm open to I want to make sure your neighborhoods are safe and emulate what Green Oak Ranch Ministries has done.
Okay, one in the back.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Roland Allen. I don't know if you guys all know this, but at the top corner of that map is a halfway house where prisoners are released from the jails, and they've been living there for 27 years that I know of. And it's at the end of Watson Way. That's how you enter the facility, and it backs up to the Vista Optimist Club. So from that point to Green Oaks is 200 feet down the creek bed. Now, I have cleaned that creek bed out myself over the last 27 years, probably 15 times, from needles, mattresses, stolen goods from the hotels over the La Quinta Hotel that's right there on Thibodeau. And so now you're bringing that element there, and you have already an existing element. And this whole area is, if you guys drive down that street, you see what's on the streets, the freaks. It's like, what's going on? Is that lady gonna die? Is anybody gonna help this person? And now you're gonna bring more into the area. If you're not gonna put an 8-foot fence around this thing with barbed wire, have guard dogs like a concentration camp, I don't see this thing working out for this area, this community at all, because we've already got that element in the corner.
I want to be very fair to Jim. This comparison to a concentration camp is probably not something that we want to do, but I understand your point.
Hi, everybody. I'm Vanessa Bulcao. I live in Shadow Ridge. I'm also a member of your Shadow Ridge Board of Directors. Jim, you came and spoke to the Cove on June 18th, and while that discussion was somewhat contentious, by me, that video is available for everyone to see on the Protect Vista Facebook page. If you're not a member, Tim can help you join. Yeah, yes, thank you, Chase. I think you're here. Yeah, we received that this morning. There was one question that was posed to you that I don't think we have had answered yet. We asked you if you'd been in contact with the Sheriff's Department and what their response was, and you had, but you'd spoken with the San Diego Sheriff about their opinion. And of course, San Diego Department of the Sheriff's Department was thrilled. They were so excited about it. They were so happy. They were fully in support. We asked if you'd spoken to a North County Sheriff, and your answer was no. So we asked you if you would, and that was on June 18th, and I understand you were on vacation. We know the Vista, hold on, I'm not done. We know Vista Fire is not in support of this. We know that. I don't care if they like you or not. I'm pretty sure my opinions are known. Have you talked to the North County Sheriff about if they are in support of a facility like this? If you have not, why not? And when will you? And when will you share what their opinion is?
I talked to the sheriff, who is the elected official for all of the sheriffs, and that's the person who makes those kinds of decisions. I could ask individual deputy sheriffs what their opinions are, but it all comes down to the sheriff's decision. It's just like asking county or city staff members what their opinions are, but it's really going to come to the council for those types of decisions. So I went to the head who makes those decisions. I have not yet. I've been busy, but I have not spoke to them because sometimes, and I appreciate, I'll do everything I can for the sheriffs and deputy sheriffs. Sometimes they're not always willing to give their opinions because they got a job to do and they work for the sheriff, the deputy sheriffs too. So I have not had that opportunity. I'm happy to do that. I got some time.
Over here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out here. And Mayor, thank you so much. I am a resident at Green Oak Ranch. I've been there since my daughter was 5 years old. She is now almost 15. It is a ministry place. And I've also was a reserve deputy with Search and Rescue Detail. I also worked for the county, retired from there, with Health and Human Services. So I am so familiar with the county, familiar with, you know, all this stuff, and also on the inside, also ministering to, that was the whole reason living at the ranch was to also minister to the people there, the people coming in for rehab. The difference between a ministry and a county-run facility is God. So we have, so with these people that are in there, and I've seen, I mean, we've just, you know, cried our hearts out with so many people that have either have left, we found out they've died, but we've also been rejoicing of the ones that have actually, you know, have made better, you know, choices and are doing awesome in life now. Again, the difference is they have God. And if the county is running, just like you were saying, everybody's been saying anyway, we have different supervisors that are going to be put in place, and things will change. The concern, of course, I mean, it's a great idea, but just not there. And the other thing too is doing like search and rescue and stuff, and having to find people. A lot of times it was they were escaping. They were escaping. Well, I know we've hiked that whole area, and there's a lot of places, and we already know now that people are coming in. So it's not that secure. Again, we're not going to make it an 8-foot place, you know. Yeah, that's just not going to work. We've got to find another place. I understand, again, you have a great idea. It's great, you know. My heart breaks for a lot of people. I go and minister to homeless people. I'll go out in the underneath the freeways and minister to the people. That I get it. I know exactly what they're thinking and all that stuff too. But this is just not the area.
I keep going back to the owners are selling the land. They're selling it, and they want it to stay a rehab site. And we, the county, we contract with Jewish Family Services, Catholic Charities. We could contract and be the people that come out clean and sober. If the ministry is a better place for them for healing, we can contract with Green Oak Ministry for them to have the services or go to them. So I'm happy to continue to work with them. And if that's a better solution for the people coming through the project, fine. But the owners are selling, and they want it to stay a rehab site. And how? So, well, no, we don't have to buy it. But it's a unicorn it's has potential. So I'm pursuing it. I don't know if we're going to go through it or not. Yes, who we got? Okay.
Hi, my name is Sue Hannibal, and I've been a holistic trauma therapist for 25 years. And I'm not going to get involved in the location thing because that's already on the table, but you want this to be a success, and you have to have some input from the alternative complementary workshop before this goes completely off the trail. So one thing is, a lot of people believe that PTSD is a mental illness. It's in the DSM, which is the big book of mental disorders. It's not a mental illness. It's a symptom cluster of unhealed trauma triggers. The VA, with the enormous budget that they have, has veterans all over the place that have gone through the system. They're still messed up, so to speak. They have a dog, they have this, they go to group. Going back to the ones that are in Vietnam, they're not able to cure PTSD in most cases of trauma. So the people that we're talking about, the population you want to help, they didn't get that way in a vacuum. They have childhood trauma. There's something called the ACE study, ACE, Adverse Childhood Experiences. It's 10 questions of childhood trauma. And you have elevated risk of life-threatening illness in adulthood if you have a high score on that 1 to 10. So there's that. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, I don't know if anybody has looked at this, the Delancey Street Foundation. It's in San Francisco. It was started in the 70s by a psychologist. She made a very important decision. She funded it through private funds. She didn't want any government involved. It's been a 40-year success rate.
So
They
is your
bring
question,
in-
are we going to look to all other alternatives for treatment?
If you do what the conventional model is doing, you're going to fail no matter where you locate this thing. That's what I want to make clear. I have
Okay.
25 years of
Well, all right.
experience of
I'm not a
treating
doctor,
people.
I'm not a physician, I have no
Well,
idea, I'm a stupid politician.
I'm telling
So,
you what to consider.
Thank you. I have to refer to the county, the head of the county behavioral health doctor.
Well, then
And-
you're
and
doomed for failure.
Well, and maybe we can have an advisory groups or something like that to get to have input. I'm open to that kind of stuff. I don't think there's one tool that, one size fits all. I'm happy to maybe have you included or an advisory level, something like that, but I'm not smart enough. That's not my lane.
I left a folder for you with your policy person.
Okay.
But the other thing I want to talk to you about is psych meds.
Sue, I say this respectfully. Is there a question that you have?
Thank you.
I just would like to know, homeless is a greater problem than just mental health. We all agree that that is a big portion of it. We have it present on Green Oaks, people that are economically depressed. And there's also medically depressed people that are out there that are part of this homeless population. I don't think anybody in this room would have any problems of that being a continuing process of what is already being done at Green Oaks. There's the present RV lot there that by all designs of all the things we've heard so far is going to be displaced, creating their own homelessness. And that is a big problem with me when we're arguing about the mental health of everybody, which is a huge concern. There's facilities that are out there that are sitting vacant right now that are going to address 10,000 people. And you're talking about 200 people on a 6-month basis. That is going to take literally decades. Well, there's even other facilities. I know, but I'm just saying, this is a small thing. The area that is there is something that is unique, is never going to be changed unless we change it. And you talk about mitigating processes, the Boy Scouts are using it, the baseball fields. These are kids that are directly impacted by the lifestyles and environments that they are in. And if we can create a community within that area, I think that would be a long-term benefit that would severely overweigh anything that we've heard today.
Stand up so you can see. This side's been patiently waiting, and right there.
Hi, can I ask a clarifying question before I ask my question? I'm curious as to what players are involved. We've heard the county and Solutions for Change. Is the city separate from Solutions for Change?
Yes. So
So
we are a
there's-
completely separate entity. And I just want to touch, because I know that there was an article that came out that Solutions was offering the city
Yeah.
50 acres of land. And I'm just going to be very transparent with everybody in this room. Solutions had emailed the entire council. And before any of us had a chance to respond, they went directly to the media and had that article written. The acreage that they want to give us is untenable acreage. It is acreage that surrounds the property that would actually cost far more than anything we would spend on the totality of the property if we were trying to grade and then build upon it. So it's not what it's presented as. It is all the usable land they would keep. All the land around it, they would give to us, which means that we would be responsible for the mitigation of that land, the cost of maintaining it, and all the other things. So those are the three players, but I wanted to touch on that opportunity that they presented to us because I do not feel like it's an act of good faith when they're talking about the gift to the city.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate it. My question, though, is regarding employment of the facility that you're talking about. currently in the city of Vista, we are short bus drivers, we are short special education teachers, special education aides. So we're having trouble filling those jobs. How do you think you're going to fill employment of such a large facility?
Well, it's going to be phased in. It's not going to be built all at once. And you're right, that is a big issue. We're short about 400 sheriffs in the county. And there's about 4,000 of them, but we're short sheriffs. And we also are short mental health people. We're not going to take in any more people than we can manage. Correct. You know, and that is a difficult issue. I think it's about every sector in public service. But that's something we have to deal with as far as getting the proper people on site. And we're not going to build any more than we can handle. And so it's going to be phased in. It's not going to be built all at once. And I think about half of that $350 million number that's being thrown out there, I told you it costs about $1.5 million per hospital bed at Tri-City Hospital is what that costs. The site's going to need infrastructure improvements. It's going to need roads. It's going to need the electricity. There is electricity on it, but a lot of it's not permitted. There's also, it's going to need sewer on that site. So there's a lot of infrastructure costs that are going to have to go into place. And I'm not even sure how much of that property is even buildable, because I think a lot of those low-lying areas, like in front of the amphitheater and things like that, that are wide open. The reason they're wide open is because they're in a floodplain. So it's got some challenges, and the county may find out, even if we were selected, the county may find out, hey, this is just way too expensive for us to go in and do that. But we're not going to do that due diligence to that level until we're in the game. And so we may back out of the whole thing and say, no, you know, we can do something better. But I think, like I said, if we can have a collaboration with Green Oak, if we can have a collaboration with Solutions, I think that would be a better solution for a site that wants to remain a rehabilitation site.
And I just want to touch on something really quick before the next question. So that land has been there, obviously, well, for millions of years, but for thousands of years, it has been existing as usable land from Native Americans and other indigenous people. We have no idea what's underneath the ground. I can almost guarantee you that we will find artifacts somewhere on that property, which means that land that they are in will be untouchable. And so until we actually have surveys done and a lot of things, we're all going to take, whoever gets this property is taking a risk in the fact of whatever they may find there. So it's something that we all need to be aware of for whoever secures this land, and that is a real possibility of what might happen.
I just wanted to bring up the Dijon family that owns the property, and I don't pretend to know them, but I've done a lot of research on the family. And there's a wonderful book called The American Dream about the family, if you'd like to read it. And I believe the father's heart, who recently passed away last year, and that now the land is up for sale, he obviously had a heart, and if you read his history and all about him, for the rehabs. And I think that if you study what would honor him and his family, I think it would be something that he would want to impact the community right, to be the right thing for the community. And even though we keep talking about this family wanting a rehab center, I think, wow, this would not be his heart to have this kind of negative impact on the community or in any way danger the community that's around it. And I think it would be such an honor for that family to have things named after them, like the Dijon, Fire Academy, or the Dijon, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, but do a little dive into this family because they're amazing. And let's give them the history that they want and present it to them in a way that would honor that family. That's all I've got to say.
People that real quick.
Okay, perfect.
Hello, hello. Okay. Yeah. So I've. Ranch, which they were welcome. But we also have people coming into our community lately, and they're living in the creek. And we have a lot of little children in our community, and it's very concerning because nowadays with the politics, you can't say anything anymore. You cannot ask anybody if they live there, what they're doing there. And coming home at night and seeing strangers with hoodies walking to the community is very, very stressful. I have a question for you in regards, I think you mentioned earlier that there was a thought process that a facility like that could possibly be put up in a valley center or whatnot. And then you mentioned within a couple sentences later that that would be too far out for people to find a job and all that. But then you said earlier that you provide transportation for people to leave the community or the facility no matter what. So I don't really understand that argument.
I keep going back. There is no land that somebody wants to make and keep a rehabilitation center that I know of anywhere else in the county.
Hi, my name is Leslie Brazier. My husband Bob and I have lived in Shadow Ridge for 36 years. And I had the privilege of being a therapy riding instructor at Green Oak Ranch for about 5 years in the late 80s and into the 90s. I also volunteered at the King's Camps during the summer months when we would bring children from the inner city of LA down to learn how to ride and how to be with animals and be in the fresh air and nature. Green Oak has always had a rehabilitation center. It started by the Union Rescue Mission in 1950. So they just celebrated 74 years. Solutions for Change came into the mix about 25 years ago, I think. But a point I want to make is my husband and I used to own our own company, and we employed a number of individuals who went through the rehab program when Union Rescue Mission was running it. And they had a great deal of success because of the requirement that they stay sober. My concern is having the county involved, I can guarantee you, is going to negate that. The county supervisors, it's a rotating door. They get termed out. We get new supervisors in. There's absolutely no guarantee that if they build this site to the level that Supervisor Desmond wants, that it's going to stay a rehab site that's going to mandate that you are drug and alcohol free. My second concern is the mental health facility. My sister-in-law is a psychologist, and she has worked in the county mental health locations. And I have heard some horror stories. The county does not run its mental health facilities effectively, and they basically fail on a daily basis. I have firsthand knowledge from talking with my sister-in-law who's worked in them. This is not the right site for a mental health facility. It is the right site to continue the DeYoung family's desire to provide a rehabilitation center for the community, for the city of Vista. And that's what it should stay. And my husband and I are firmly against the county getting their hands on this land for any reason, because we know what's going to happen down the road. And I'm speaking for all you young families who are just.
How do you stop the county?
How do we stop it?
We go to the city council. Vote your proposal. What?
We vote, and that's another thing. The proposal should never have been considered in the first place.
So again, and I appreciate everything you just said, by the way. This will not be up to the city council, it won't be up to the county, it will be up to the family. And so the only way that you can try and get the city to purchase it is if you keep showing up. You have all done a tremendous job, and I want to thank Tim for all of the grassroots movement, because I believe that he is the founder that has led to the majority of the people in this room. But what you need to do is keep sharing your voice, keep showing up. I listen. Like, I ran on a promise that I was going to create more green space in Vista. I wasn't just trying to blow smoke at everybody. I care a lot about parks. I'm tired of seeing gas stations and car washes and storage facilities popping up all over our city. And so for me, my fight right now is to listen to all of you, but also to provide more green space for our city, because we're going to continue to grow. But the only way that we can continue having our voices heard, and the mayor touched on this as well, show up 200 strong at the council meetings. Let them know, let the entire council know, this is what the community wants. and then we can make a genuine offer to try and secure the land. At the end of the day, we could offer $1 million or $10 million, $100 million, and they could still say no. But all we can do is try.
No, but my point is, even if they were successful purchasing land, and it's not from the city of Vista, doesn't the city of Vista have any control on how it's developed?
If the county controls the land based on state law, we will lose all control.
I have a simple question. Are any representatives of the trust getting this information? If they're here, I don't need to know who they are. I don't want any of that, but how are they getting this feedback on this scale to them, the ones that are going to be responsible for making the decision of who buys the property?
From the city side, our city manager is our direct point person to communicate with them.
Hi, how you guys doing? My name is Joey, and I just wanted to come and just really represent somebody who's been through the recovery process and how important rehab is. And what sets Green Oaks apart from all the other rehabs is the fact that it's a ministry. Is that God is incorporated in that. And I've tried everything in my life, after 20 years in prison and all that stuff, and the only thing that worked was when I got, God came into the picture for me. So regardless of, I just celebrated 7 years clean and sober and completely absent from everything. And when you walk onto Green Oaks, you can feel the presence of God in that place. There's a cross there. His presence is there. And so my question for you specifically is, what are you looking for, like, as far as your rehab goes? I understand the family is an amazing Christian family. Obviously, they have a heart for the Lord, but what are you going to do to keep that site sacred?
I can't. But I can work with, and if, like I said earlier, if the better path is for an individual to go through their rehab after they've been cleaned and detoxed, then let that be. I'm not going to stand in the way of that. But it's a choice, and the county can't pick Christian, Jewish, Muslim. We can't pick. We can't do that. And so, but if that's a better path, hallelujah. We'll let it happen. But I don't know if it works for everybody, but I'm open and willing. Like I said, we contract with Jewish Family Services and Catholic Charities and other church-friendly or Christian-friendly entities. So that's not going to be an impediment. But it's going to really depend on the individual.
Hi, I live in the Shadow Ridge Crossing area, and my house backs up right against Green Oak. They have been good neighbors, yes, and they've got a good program. But because they keep the numbers manageable, it works. You said you've heard no opposition or complaints. Let me give you a complaint, not against Green Oak, but let me tell you what happens in our neighborhood. We have, politically correct, what do I say? Undesirable non-residents walking through our area. We have cars that have been vandalized and ransacked. We have people using our jacuzzi as their bathtub. I have personally picked up their wet underwear, their leftover soap, their razor things. We have people living, hopping the fence of our pool area and spending the night in our bathrooms uninvited. We were afraid to send our kids to the pool because in the evening you don't know what you're going to see there. I live directly across from it. I see things all the time. You talk about having sheriffs there. You're going to have 3 sheriffs covering an 8-hour shift, one each one. Who's going to protect our neighborhood? Will the county pay to put up a fence? Because right now, they're managing these numbers. They can't control 100% of what their people do when they leave there. They can't control their visitors and their friends. And we understand we have this population in our whole area. The city is doing a really great job of trying to maintain it, trying to keep our streets safe, trying to keep our park where we can send our kids there because we have the homeless living there. I am afraid when you bring in 200 more residents that you let out every 60 days, they're going to be let out in our area. You do not cure mental illness. You only manage it. And when you're managing it, those people have to be near the resources to be managed. They need to be by their doctors, their counselors, their drugs, their peer groups. They need to go to their support groups, and they need to be able to get to it. So once you bring them here, and yes, you're going to try and heal them, but it's going to take more than 60 days. You're going to let them out. They're going to stay right there in our neighborhoods because they're going to have nowhere to go to get the services that they were receiving there. They need to be where they're supported, and that will become their support group, and they will not leave our area. So your model is great, but it's not great. It should never be put up against a neighborhood area. It should be not next to homes. It should be not next to parks, not close to schools. It should be in an outlying area where you can control a model like this. If 50% of our homeless are veterans, it seems to me, and if 82%, these are your numbers, by the way, if 82% of the homeless have mental illnesses, I got off of your thing, then it seems to me like the government should be helping more. The other thing you said is you want, I'm using your words, in some of your first issues, you said you wanted to make Green Oak Ranch a healing hub, a mental healing hub for the county. Well, the hub is a center. If you look at the geographical area, Vista is not the center of San Diego County. That's Mission Valley. If it's the center of where all the homeless people are coming from, we're not the center of your population. The large population is San Diego. Mission Valley is 12 miles from San Diego.
Is there a question, though? Because there's a lot of people who have a question, so I just want to see if there's a question.
I will let them ask their question. Are you going to provide sheriffs for our area, and are you going to help us get our community gated so we don't have to so we can manage the influx of all these other people that are coming in?
And Jim, real quick before you answer that, I do want to touch on, because there probably has been an increase that we've seen, and our deputies do a fantastic job, so I want to be very clear about that. Yes, please give them a round of applause. If you look at what the transformation along Sycamore by the Burlington Coat Factory has been, it is directly due to the work that our deputies are doing. And what happened, we've had two drug dealers over there arrested, and when you take away the supply, you see people move down the creek. And so those are the people you're seeing. So I don't want to throw Green Oak or anybody that's living on that facility or on those grounds as the individuals that are hopping the fence or doing those things. What you're basically seeing is that there are people that are coming that were over in that area and moving down. We also arrested a third drug dealer right in the business park. They had like $133,000 in cash on them, over 5 pounds of narcotics. So we are attacking them aggressively, and not our unsheltered population. We're attacking the source of the drugs and narcotics aggressively with our deputies, and we're trying to make sure that the individuals that are on the street are getting the help they need, or they're not staying in the areas that they're at. Unfortunately, that means some of them do come down into your area, and so what we can do is increase our patrol deputies to go into that area if you're having those issues. But that's something I need to know about because I can't be everywhere at once. I want to hear the community feedback, which is why we're here today, because it was loud and clear. But I appreciate all the comments you make. I just wanted to touch on that before I hand it over to the supervisor, because those are some of the things that you're saying.
It's okay. I asked for this. Don't ever run for office. I should have retired. Yeah, I did. I should.
You did do it.
I did.
What'd you do for me lately?
Yeah, okay, I forgot what the question. Okay, the sheriffs. Okay, the sheriffs would be on site. Is when I spoke to the sheriff, we would have 3 on site, 24 hours a day. Okay, and then we'd also have roving security on site to make sure people aren't escaping or going off. And it's a treatment facility, so people are being kept track of. And so, and then, I don't know, John got another sheriff out of me for the CSU, so maybe, but I can't answer that at this point in time as far as providing with more sheriffs if we're not even in the game. So I can't answer that, but it worked last time. Okay, I got to leave in about 5-10 minutes, so let's.
Afternoon, Mr. Desmond. Thanks for coming out to Vista.
Answered, you can contact my office, call me, whatever. We're happy to still answer questions. We want to get the right information out there. Go ahead.
Hi, I've been a resident of Vista since 1976. I went to 5th grade camp at Green Oaks Ranch when I was a kid. slept in those little cabins that the veterans sleep in when they put only 5 little 5th graders in there. So, you know about my age. My question, though, Mr. Desmond, is why do you believe the family or the trust reached out directly to your office instead of Vista, another government agency?
You'll have to ask them. I don't
Okay,
know.
how do I get in contact with them so that we can start discussing that?
Hannah is the woman who operates. I haven't not spoke directly with the trustees on this. I guess one did talk to our office. I'm not even sure if he's a trustee. He might be the executive officer that contacted because it's in my district. I'm in North County, so they contacted me because this is North County, and so I would be the only supervisor they would contact to purchase up here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Turn over here, sorry. I just want to know. I'm selfish, I'm sorry. Yes, did that in church today too. I'm going to be very selfish and ask both of you what your intentions are for the RV park. I live there. I make a good salary. I'm not in the recovery, from the recovery group, but my dad did teach there a long time ago. So I'm here in California where you can't afford anything. I'm making a way for myself, and this is the way I make a way for myself. So what are your intentions for the RV park if you purchase the property?
Well, I asked Hannah about that. So I asked Hannah, the gal who runs Green Oak Ministries, and I asked her, I said, what about these? And she said that they would move them to the Area B. So they would be moved up onto, it's not up there, but the site of Green Oaks Ministry. I don't know if Mr. DeYoung was very permit adverse. He had his own bulldozer and grader, and then he would ask for permission. But great family and great heart. I have never dealt with an RV park, and I don't even know if it's permitted there. I'm not sure about the septic or
all about it.
Okay, well, and I don't know enough about it to tell you yay or nay. If there's a way we can keep it, if it goes to Area B, it'd be a heck of a lot easier on the county because this is something we don't really manage. And so that was Hannah's answer, that it would go to their site.
Okay, and you?
Yeah, so I have no intention of removing that RV park anytime soon. And the reason for that is, and like I've all said, there is nobody that probably wants baseball fields more than me on the city council. I talk about them all the time when we talk about open space. It will take years to develop this land. And what that will afford the opportunity for Green Oak is that they will have the ability to either lease the land or we may be able to donate the cost of it. And that's something we have to talk about at the council level. I can't make that decision on my own. But there is no direct impact in the very near future for the people living in the RVs, because by the time we ever touch that land or grade it or do anything to build, we will have worked with Green Oak to make sure that, one, they can move all of their facilities to the side of the property that they need to be on, and we can figure something out with the RV park. As far as the city taking it over and renting it out or doing it, I can't speak to that because I just don't know. But there is no intention, at least from the conversations I've had, to remove those individuals from the land.
Well, and just real quick, if the county were to buy the land, again, it's going to take years, probably a couple of years with all design and scoping and seeing what can go where or things like that. Is leasing it back to Green Oak Ranch and say, hey, take care of it, will you? And maybe, I can't promise anything, but maybe for $1 a year or something like that, they continue to keep and manage the land until such time that the county may come in and do any sort of structures.
I'm sorry. Just so you know that everyone in the recovery center or everyone that stays from the recovery center actually manages the property.
Yeah.
They upkeep the property.
So the county could hire them to do that. Yeah. I think that'd be wonderful.
I have a question. So San Diego Unified School District is facing a $95 billion budget deficit. And you said to build out this property that the county would use reserve funds to do so. But how much confidence do we have that the county's not going to run out of money, have to change the program to then rely on federal funding? And is this really the best use of funds considering the deficit that our school district is facing?
Trying to link the school district with this, so I'm struggling with that.
Well, it's a
And this-
budget
and this-
deficit for the
this is gonna be
taxpayer money, right? I
a
mean,
year's-
our
well, that-
taxpayer dollars go towards
School
that.
district money is a completely different pot than government, city, county dollars. So those don't intermingle that much. But, I started out in
So what does the
politics,
county
but-
have to gain, though, by
Well,
purchasing?
the county has to gain that we get people clean and sober. We have the mental health services that serve the needs of the county, which our mental health problem is expanding. It's not growing or slowing down. It's like, where do you look for growth? The growth, unfortunately, is in mental health in the county and mental health services. Mental health it's in so many different places. The county just did a study on gun violence. And over 70% of the people, over 70% of the deaths by guns is suicide. 70%. So that's mental health. We got people with mental health issues that are killing themselves. 70% of the people die by guns in San Diego County and then that demographic is people 65 and older, mostly men that are killing themselves. And so that's my group. But so we got mental health issues, and even in middle schools, we got kids with mental health issues. So this is a huge issue facing the county. We're the mental health agency. Here's a site that wants to treat people. So, that's why I'm pursuing this. And we may not get it, and maybe all this brain damage won't, just someday go away. But that's the reason. So I don't know, it's tough to intermingle school district dollars with county and city dollars. Sorry.
And just real quick, out of respect to the supervisor's time, we're going to do 2 more questions. I'm happy to stay and answer any questions I can, but I just want to be sure that we can get them out of here on time.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. You are very brave. And I am so excited to see everybody getting civically engaged. And I got to go to the 75th birthday, I thought it was, 74th. This ranch is so impressive. I think more people need to know about it and support it, because it is doing so many good things for so many people, and it's fabulous. I've met a couple people that lived in the campground. One young lady with her kids, she comes up to the park. My dog loves them. And I just want to say, we have a wonderful community. So let's count the pluses, and let's thank you, Dan O'Donnell, a wonderful councilman who I'm so proud of, for doing all this work and being engaged and listening. It's so important that we have leaders that listen, really listen, and don't try to divide us or just try to bring us together. It's really important. My question, because I live at the very end of Azure, I get to see a lot of those homeless people coming up and down out of the creek. And the ones that I've seen they try to be invisible. They are not proud of where they're struggling. People are struggling financially. Sometimes they offer, if I want help, I just kind of try to keep to myself, let them know I'm watching. But there's those concerns. I'm just as concerned as she is in going in the pool and my kids going out. I walk my dog at night. I feel pretty safe in my neighborhood. I'm maybe brave or stupid, I don't know, but I feel pretty safe. I've got my cane, my Barbie stand, but I love my community. And I just want to say, my question is, here we have infrastructure. A lot of my questions were answered during this, but we are surrounded with eucalyptus trees. So if we're going to bring more people in, I think I just really want you to consider that when all these people are in here, if there were an incident, eucalyptus trees are the most flammable trees. We stopped putting them on our properties years ago because of that reason. Evacuating. We have one entrance and exit on Green Oak. We have lupine up on the other side if we jump the fence and go through our RV storage. But we have to consider infrastructure, the traffic coming in and going out. Sycamore is frightening. I tell you, I stop and wait till everyone stops before I pull out.
And when my granddaughter lived with me, I was afraid for her life every time she went to Tom's. She always wanted to go to Tom's to get some food or fries or ice cream. They're a great place. But the traffic on Sycamore is frightening. So we have to consider the infrastructure coming in and going out, and if we have an emergency, that we have to evacuate everyone here. So bringing in an amount of people, I just want to touch on that. And thank you for listening.
You're welcome. And I will say, whatever design we come up with is going to have to pass, and the fire is going to weigh in, and they're going to say, you know, they may limit the number, they may say you need another entrance or exit. That's all going to be, I guess, later down the road, and it's things we have to deal with. That's a given. So we cannot skirt or cheat, and on the engineering or the requirements for evacuation. So we're going to have that's going to be on anyone's plate that comes in here. Well,
So,
it'll be done if it has to
forgive
be.
me because there was somebody that stopped me while they were walking out, but you're asking about the entrance and exit into the property, because I know that there's only one way in and one way out. Correct. So I've already had the question asked from the people that live on the west side of the property in Green Oak, and if we're going to try and connect it. And the answer is no. But the reality is there is only one way in, one way out. So there needs to be an access lane put somewhere in there, whether it's in off Lupine, whether it's in off the backside of Green Oak, whether it's the county, whoever owns that property will most likely need to be brought up to code. I can't remember the way you worded the permitting process on the property, but it was a very kind way to word that they have never gotten permits to build what they build. And so there's a lot of work that would need to be done from that aspect. But whoever acquires it, the engineering that will need to go into it will need to take into account all the individuals the increase in population, as well as the access for safety for our first responders to get in and out.
So I want to say thank you for coming out. I'm going to have to take off. I appreciate it. You got one more?
One young lady has been waiting patiently.
Okay.
Our first under 18.
A speech or a question? Okay.
This is working? Oh, okay. My question is as somebody who lives in the trailer park, I am one of the older kids who live there, and there's most of the kids in this trailer park and with these families are much younger and like to play outside. If we do get moved up to another place, the whole trailer park, and you do put this mental rehabilitation site,
Substance use
or
rehabilitation.
my concern is especially because we will be very, very close to the property and the site that you want to put on. What about the security, especially for these families and these younger kids who like to play outside and hang out with one another outside in this area?
I would be very open to having the security that we're going to have on the grounds also patrol Area B as well, because your success and Green Oak Ministry's success is ours. We want to be mutually beneficial. We want to make sure they stay safe as well. And if we have to help out in the security issue, we will.
So I did have a microphone, so I'm going to just quickly, sorry, is that okay? So my name is Jackie, and I actually live in Vista. I've lived here for 15 years with my family, and both my kids have gone through Vista schools, so they're still in school, and we're a small business owner here in Vista as well, so pretty much work and live a mile from this location. And my question to you, and I think we all just want to know, have you considered any other locations for this mental health facility, or are all your eggs in this basket?
This is the only one that's going to be that's on the market to be a rehabilitation site. Yes, we have other locations throughout the county already, and we do, in North County, we don't have detox or this type of facility. So this is a network. This is not just, so I'm going to keep looking for facilities because we just don't have enough, and nobody wants it anywhere near them, Campo, Valley Center, Vista, nobody. So it's an issue I have to, why? You're the same. Jeez. Okay. If this was, I'm trying to put everything in as that's required that I would want to have in. Well, okay.
All right. So everyone, we're gonna end it now. But I just want to say one. It is not easy to come into a room of 200 plus people and get grilled with questions. So I just want to thank the supervisor for taking the time to be here today. I know it's his job and he's an elected official, but it also takes a tremendous amount of courage to sit there and answer those questions. So I am grateful for you being here today. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today and sharing your voice, sharing your concern. Please, please, please continue to do so. I know you might feel like an email is not effective, or a phone call, or a text. Send the email, send the text message, send the phone calls to all the county board of supervisors, to the city council. Make sure your neighbors know. Share it with your friends and family, and continue doing what you're doing, and keep up the great work, and I'll keep fighting for you. Thank you.